My name is Cardinal Roger Mahony, the Archbishop Emeritus of Los Angeles. The check said $8.75. The check stub said 60 hours, 10 hours over 6 days. I was stunned, even though it was not my check. It belonged to a bracero working in the orchards and fields surrounding St. John Seminary in Camarillo, about an hour north of Los Angeles. I was then a seminarian in my third year of theology, preparing for priesthood in Los Angeles. Because many growers in the region relied on the bracero program to bring farm workers from Mexico to the United States, the priest who taught at the seminary regularly visited the labor camps to offer Sunday Mass. I went often. I was moved by these men who traveled north at great sacrifice for their families, and at the same time, deeply troubled by the blatant violations of human dignity and basic justice. My study of California's farm worker history quickly revealed a broader truth. Immigrants across the country, whether in fields, orchards, or service jobs, have long carried the weight of our nation's prosperity. This statement focuses on California and my own experience. The bracero program was only one of several systems that over the years brought workers from Mexico, China, the Philippines to labor in California's fields. I remember reading The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck while living in the college seminary, itself surrounded by acres of lemon, orange, and avocado groves, tended and harvested by farm workers. After a year of discernment, I felt the Holy Spirit urging me to transfer from the Archdiocese of Los Angeles and seek permission to become a priest of the Diocese of Monterey, Fresno, home to the largest expanse of agricultural land in the nation. I began the fall semester as a seminarian of my new diocese. On November 25, 1960, the day after Thanksgiving, CBS News aired the documentary called Harvest of Shame, in which Edward R. Murrow exposed the suffering of African American migrant workers along the East Coast. The nation was shaken. The abundance enjoyed at Thanksgiving suddenly bore a human cost that could no longer be ignored. A new form of slavery had been laid bare. People began asking why government agencies could not secure just wages and humane working conditions for agricultural laborers. They remembered the countless workers who had organized unions to improve the lives of millions. Why then were farm workers excluded? Tragically, the National Labor Relations Act, signed July 5, 1935, by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, explicitly excluded farm workers and domestic workers. The irony is painful. The law was signed the day after Americans celebrated the Declaration of Independence, a document proclaiming the dignity of every person. Yet resistance did emerge. In 1943, farm workers in Oregon and Washington went on strike for higher wages. In California, the movement grew through Cesar Chavez and the Agricultural Workers Organizing Committee, eventually forming the United Farm Workers. Still, the pattern persisted. Low wages, harsh conditions, long hours, disrespect. This is the unbroken history endured by farm workers and domestic workers in our country. Our harvest of shame has never ended. Most of these workers, then and now, are migrants or newly arrived immigrants. Over time, many settled in small towns rather than follow the harvest trail, becoming woven into the fabric of local communities. Today, migrants serve in countless sectors, supporting families, strengthening the economy, and enriching the nation. Fast forward to early 2025. In a single sweeping act, migrants and immigrants were branded a national enemy to be terrorized, hunted, and deported. Government policies cast the widest possible net, ensnaring the most violent offenders and the most innocent long-term residents, and everyone in between. Since last October, Pope Leo XIV has repeatedly denounced the reign of fear gripping so many of our people. He continues to condemn tactics that seem designed to hunt down and intimidate good, hardworking individuals who have been unjustly vilified. Last November, the Catholic bishops issued a special message on the immigration crisis. The message described the attacks on immigrants across the nation. But where were the unmistakable gospel words, words that name evil and oppose it? Instead, the bishops offered only a list of feeling verbs: disturbed, saddened, concerned, lament, troubled, grieved. I showed the message to a group of immigrants hiding fearfully in their home. After a long silence, one of them said, "It's okay for the bishops to feel saddened, for they're not the ones being chased down the street by camouflage ICE agents. I am." Flowing from my earliest encounter with that bracero in Camarillo, and from decades of ministry with the poorest and most vulnerable, I state clearly and without hesitation: I condemn and oppose the climate of fear and anxiety created by profiling and immigration enforcement. I condemn and oppose the toxic public debate and the vilification of immigrants. I condemn and oppose the inhumane conditions in detention centers and the lack of pastoral access. I condemn and oppose the arbitrary stripping of legal status from immigrants who have lived here for years. I oppose and condemn threats against the sanctity of houses of worship and the protected nature of hospitals and schools. I condemn and oppose the terror inflicted on parents who fear detention while taking their children to school, and the anguish of families already torn apart. I conclude with the words of Pope Leo XIV in the document De Lexite on love for the poor. The Church, like a mother, accompanies those who are walking. Where the world sees threats, she sees children. Where walls are built, she builds bridges. She knows that her proclamation of the gospel is credible only when it is translated into gestures of closeness and welcome. And she knows that in every rejected migrant, it is Christ himself who knocks at the door of the community.